It's Talladega week. Great racing, side by side drafting. Well, I always like to call it stack to back week for DFS. There's no sense in overthinking. There's no sense in actually looking at salaries or anything like that. The best thing to do is don't play the top guys. They will not be optimal, or it'll be really hard for them to be optimal, especially with chaos like in these tracks. Just don't overcomplicate it. I think that if you go to that stat back, it's been proven winner making money on these DFS slates, especially on FanDuel where place differential is king. Excuse me for the dog that's barking in the back. But to me, I think this is going to be a great race. Spring races are generally a little bit more tamer than usual, but it's still chaos. Still going to see wrecks. And it only takes one big one. Also, too, if your driver gets in a wreck, and especially if you're doing a stack to back, it's not necessarily going to be a killer to that line. You will not know until that checkered flag drops. But let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to make this quick and simple. There's no sense in making a long video about this at all. It's pretty plain and simple. I want to make a very simple approach to this. Chalk. It's going to be Blaney 22nd, Elliott 28th, Bowman 27. I do think you could play some of them, but I'm going to be probably a little bit lesser than the field on having these in my line. And also, too, this week is not a one line play kind of going DFS. I mean, I guess if you did just want to play one line just for the heck of it, I would try and approach more of a stay away from that chalk. Stay away from those chalky drivers. It's going to be highly owned so that maybe you can get a good cash out. The highest starting drivers I'm looking at. Actually, before I do that, I want to talk about Harvick. I do think he's going to be owned, but I think he'd be a little bit lesser owned than Blaney, Bowman, and Elliott. I think Harvick's a fine play today, especially if you want to kind of get away from the Harvick. I mean, not from the Harvick, but from the Blaney, Elliott, and Bowman. But the highest starting drivers I'm looking at is Logano, 13th, Austin Dillon, 14th, 15th, Keselowski. I will not play much of them, but I will sprinkle that into my lines. I think that's going to be a good way to try to be a little bit different, but it's really different in these slates because like Daytona, some of these drivers that were starting up front was like crazy ownership, and they should never be that owned on these type of tracks. But yes, I like Logano, also Dylan Keselowski. I like Keselowski a little bit more than the other two, just because you got a couple more place differential spots, but also too he has a knack for this. So some good pivots to get off of some more chalky drivers. I think some of these are going to still hold some good ownership. But I think you can, if you want to be the switch away from that chalk, here's the plays. Stenhouse, I think he still will hold it, but some people still going to think he's wrecky, and it's very possible, but he's really good and aggressive on these tracks. Amarola, he's good. Harrison Burton, I think he's not going to be owned, but the Woodbirds do bring fast cars to these type of tracks. And Custer, I think Custer's good. And Buescher, I'm really high on. I like Buescher a lot. I think he's going to do really well. He's starting 30th. Gets a good place differential. And the RFK racing is going to, I think, going to show something today a little bit. All right. To be different, I only got one driver here, and I want to be a little bit different. And I want to go with Briscoe. I think the Stewart Haas drivers are going to hook up together. Not saying we need to stack teams, but it's not. It wouldn't be a bad idea to put one or two together. But I'm not really going out of my way for that at all. I wouldn't do it. But if it happens, it happens. And I don't mind teaming him up with Harvick if I wanted to stack. But yeah, standing back is the biggest thing. Do not chase lap leaders. I will not touch anybody in the top 10. Won't even touch anybody in the top 12. That is just my approach. It's been a winning approach. Just like last week, did very well, even though it's a different type of track. But we're getting a streak. We're starting to streak good into this season with this new gen car. But yeah, playing drivers up front could be a big negative. I mean, if you start Bell and he wrecks, I mean that's like negative 30 some points. Like you it's not worth the risk. And he would have to leave all the race and everything like that to even be anywhere close to being optimal, and that's not going to happen. So, best thing to do: stay in the back, play these guys like Gillian, Reagan, Gregson, Castle, LaJoy, and McLeod. I'm not touching Biffle. I'm not doing none of that. But those are my guys I want to push in my lines. But I appreciate everybody that's watched this. Subscribe, like, go check out some other stuff I got going on, and appreciate y'all.